So an indie game called Warpips was released recently on Epic, and I gave it a shot, and it's pretty good. It plays a lot like the old Flash classics I used to love back when Congregate was more of a thing. In Warpips, you spend cash to buy units and send them out to defeat an enemy base, and we're kind of limited by the number of soldiers we can have by our supply points. Every time we defeat an enemy, we can get some experience points that can give us some medals. These medals are used for all kinds of upgrades, like extra money, more supply points, and upgrades to our actual units. While we can trade in our medals for money, we can also spend a medal to upgrade that ability, meaning we can get more money for our medals later. Sometimes you have to spend your medals on unlocking the sniper or one of the vehicles as well. On either side of your console, you have a defense icon and an attack icon. The defense icon will cause your units to take cover and gain a defensive boost. This is pretty useful if you want a bunch of units together, as they'll hang out behind cover until it's time to pop out. The attack icon, on the other hand, will increase the movement speed and accuracy of your units, as well as I think a little bit of range, though it doesn't say that. The accuracy increase is actually really good because your units are typically pretty bad shots. The whole goal of Warpips is to conquer the enemy islands, and by choosing individual battles, we can slowly make our way to the enemy headquarters. Every time you win a battle, you get a small number of combat coupons and some war bucks. Though the more dangerous the battle is, like the bombs or the headquarters battles themselves, will give us better rewards. Every time we want to jump into a battle, we have to go to the loadout screen and choose what units we want to place. Every time we do so, we use one stock, and if we have no stock left, we can't use that unit anymore. Luckily, we can go to the arms dealer and buy more units, though the selection is kind of limited. On the upgrade screen, we can get some permanent upgrades, though they're fairly costly. Most of them are pretty worth it. In the campaign mode, there's 4 islands to complete, with each one getting progressively harder. The early levels are pretty easy. You can just use the basic Warpip unit, but later levels are going to take a little bit more strategy than that. So let's go ahead and jump into it. Because money is pretty limited in the early parts of the match, you want to focus your medals on making your units better rather than making more money. The more effective units you have, the less units you'll have to lose, and the less units you'll have to buy. However, if you're in the later part of the game, it's usually a better idea to unlock a vehicle of some kind. The Jeep and the LRV are pretty dang good and will carry a match most of the time. Tanks, though, are a little too slow, so be careful about doing that. Because supply points are limited, any unit that lets you cheat on them is pretty good. This includes the Pipsqueaks, the LRV, and the Warbus, but the Warbus is kind of expensive, so bring some sort of cash generation thing. The real powerhouses, though, are the anti-infantry and anti-vehicle turrets, which are cheap and very effective at their jobs. Because upgrades are very important, you want to do as many battles as you can on the first few islands. And while most of the upgrades are pretty good, the base defense turret is just bad in general, even when upgraded, so don't buy either of its upgrades. By far, the best upgrade, though, is halving the cost of your structures, which makes all of them really dang good. Those infantry turrets can carry you through basically every single battle up until the last island. So, speaking of the last island, let's go ahead and jump into the final battle. It's a real slog and almost immediately gets a helicopter thrown at you, so you have to kind of deal with that. On lower difficulties, you can destroy it with a few anti-vehicle turrets, but otherwise you're going to need to just rush a helicopter of your own. To do this, packing some super missiles will give you some free experience points in the early game, and you should be able to unlock the helicopter that way. Once you have enough cash, drop the helicopter and let it clean up house. Though you want to make sure you have the targeted missiles so you can clean up the anti-air tank, because they'll always spawn one a little bit after the first helicopter. If you have the proper upgrade, you can also use the other missile to take out one of the howitzers or turrets, whichever you think is more important. Luckily, the respawn cycle for the AA tank is about the same as your targeted missiles, so feel free to use them both and let it go on cooldown. Now, while the helicopter is pretty good at destroying things, it can't attack the enemy base, so you want to have some sort of forward placements of your units. I suggest putting anti-vehicle turrets all over the place just to cover it, and to roll forward with all the vehicles you can, like the tanks or LRVs. You do eventually want to get your own tanks online, but it's far better to unlock the LRV first because it's better against infantry. Your anti-vehicle turrets should cover your LRVs against tanks and heavier things. Pipsqueaks are a pretty good idea because they only take supply points and you're going to be losing units all the time, so the supply points are going to be opened. Because only infantry can capture territory, you want to have Pipsqueaks or some sort of soldier in order to place more turrets and cover more ground that way. The LRV can help you in that sense, but the soldiers it spawns aren't guaranteed to live very long, so be ready for that. As long as you can cover your front line well enough, usually with anti-vehicle turrets, you should be okay to deal damage and just hold the line. Once you get all the turrets placed at 2 tanks and 2 LRVs, you should be able to handle the enemy base on a regular basis. Just go for it and you should be able to pull out the win. If you're having difficulty with campaign mode, you can use this little exploit I found to get as many combat coupons as you want. Slap an item you don't want into your loadout bar and then sell it. You'll sell the item for 1 coupon, but it'll still be in your loadout bar. So you can just repeat this process over and over again and then have as many coupons as you want. and lets you buy whatever you need to. And that's it for Warpips. Thank you for watching, and I hope it helped. I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.